The story of Sultan Ahmed IV is a tale steeped in intrigue, power struggles, and fascinating legends. His reign, from 1703 to 1730, was marked by a turbulent relationship with his viziers, which played a crucial role in the politics of the Ottoman Empire during the early 18th century. Sultan Ahmed IV, though often overshadowed by more famous sultans like Suleiman the Magnificent or Mehmed IV, left behind a complex legacy filled with political battles, conspiracies, and efforts to preserve his authority against powerful viziers. Sultan Ahmed IV, the man behind the struggle. Ahmed IV was born in 1673 and ascended to the throne in 1703 after the forced deposition of his father, Sultan Mustafa II, during a palace coup. The coup was a result of the dissatisfaction of the military, led by the Janissaries, with Mustafa II's military campaigns, particularly his failures in the wars against Austria and Russia. His deposition was part of a broader power shift in the Ottoman Empire that saw the Janissaries gaining more influence and the viziers becoming more entrenched in the sultanic court. Despite his young age, Ahmed IV quickly found himself thrust into a political landscape where viziers, the powerful bureaucrats and military leaders who advised the sultan, played an ever-increasing role in governing the empire. However, Ahmed's reign would soon be defined by his efforts to maintain control over these powerful figures, who often sought to advance their own interests. The struggle for power, the viziers. The period from 1703 to 1730 saw a bitter struggle between Sultan Ahmed IV and his viziers, particularly with the Grand Viziers, who had become increasingly influential. This political struggle was not only about the balance of power, but also about the personal ambitions of the men in power. One of the most significant figures during this time was Grand Vizier Ali Pasha, who, despite his initial loyalty to the Sultan, grew more powerful and ambitious. He was known for his manipulation of court politics and his skill in using the Janissaries to control the Sultan. Ali Pasha's growing influence led him to challenge the Sultan's authority on several occasions. The political rivalry between Sultan Ahmed IV and his viziers came to a head when Ahmed sought to assert his independence by purging some of the more powerful figures in his court. He found himself embroiled in a battle for control, leading to a series of dramatic events and political crises that rocked the empire. The royal struggles, intrigue, and conspiracy. Amidst the intense power struggles, conspiracies and intrigue were never far behind. According to various legends and stories, Sultan Ahmed IV was often faced with assassination attempts and plots to overthrow him, orchestrated by his own viziers or their allies. One particularly fascinating legend surrounds an alleged assassination attempt made by Grand Vizier Ali Pasha. The vizier, desiring to increase his power, allegedly plotted to poison Ahmed IV's food. However, the Sultan, suspected of the vizier's ill intentions, decided to act first. He reportedly had a secret advisor who had been watching the movements of his viziers, and the plot was uncovered before it could take effect. This legend highlights the atmosphere of paranoia and mistrust that defined Ahmed IV's reign. The Sultan often had to rely on loyal servants and trusted spies within his court to uncover these plots and maintain control over his empire. Another well-known conspiracy involved the Janissaries, who were incredibly influential during this period. In 1710, the Janissaries rebelled against Ahmed IV's reforms, and this resulted in the temporary exile of several of the Sultan's key advisors. The Janissaries were unhappy with the weakening of their privileges, and their rebellion threatened to destabilize the empire. Sultan Ahmed IV's efforts to reassert his authority over the military were met with fierce resistance, and at one point, he was forced to make a series of concessions to the rebellious soldiers. The fall of Ahmed IV, the end of his reign. Despite his attempts to manage the powerful viziers, Sultan Ahmed IV's reign came to a dramatic end. In 1730, after years of struggling with internal conspiracies, he was deposed by a palace coup led by the Janissaries and the Viziers. This event is known as the Patrona Halil Rebellion, named after the charismatic leader of the revolt. The Janissaries, fueled by dissatisfaction with the Sultan's leadership, managed to overthrow him in a bloody revolt. Sultan Ahmed IV was forced to abdicate, and his cousin Mahmud I ascended to the throne. The deposition of Ahmed IV marked the end of a turbulent chapter in Ottoman history, one in which the power of the Sultan was often overshadowed by the rising influence of his viziers and military. The tragic legacy of Sultan Ahmed IV. Although his reign ended in a coup, Sultan Ahmed IV is remembered for his efforts to preserve the dignity of the Ottoman throne amidst an era of rising political complexity. Many legends and rumors circulated around his final years, suggesting that he was not just a pawn in the hands of powerful viziers, but a ruler trying to protect the empire from internal collapse. Some stories even suggest that after his deposition, Sultan Ahmed IV spent the rest of his life in exile, living in a small, humble residence outside the capital. There, it is said, he lived in solitude, reflecting on the betrayal by his trusted advisors and the political games that led to his downfall. His fall is often seen as a turning point in Ottoman history, as the sultans lost much of their former power, and viziers and military factions became ever more powerful. A forgotten sultan in Ottoman history. The struggle between Sultan Ahmed IV and his viziers is a reminder of the complex nature of Ottoman politics in the 18th century. His reign may have ended in tragedy, but it highlighted the delicate balance of power between the sultan, the viziers, and the military, a theme that would continue to shape the future of the empire. While Sultan Ahmed IV may not be as well known as other Ottoman rulers, his struggles with his viziers and the dramatic end of his reign leave behind a fascinating and tragic story of ambition, betrayal, and the complexities of power.